President Trump is expected to speak to troops aboard the USS Wasp in Japan later today. That will be the end of the president's trip to the Far East, where he continues to remain positive about the prospects to denuclearize North Korea. National Security Advisor John Bolton, though, raising concerns about Pyongyang's recent launch of short-range ballistic missiles, saying those violate UN resolutions. Let's bring in retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He is now a senior fellow and military expert for defense priorities. Thanks very much for being here on this Memorial Day. So the president and his advisors seem to be of two minds about whether this missile test by the North Koreans is a violation of UN sanctions or not. How do you see it?
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's a lot of confusion and divergence between the two, and there really should not be any divergence. And the only view that should matter is what the president is saying. And his intentions and his initiatives are actually on the mark. What we need to do is we need to move towards peace with North Korea. We need to not follow this same failed Washington establishment thinking for the last 25 years, that this playbook of failure, which is what John Bolton is trying to move us down towards. If we follow that path, it says only when North Korea is completely denuclearized will we lift sanctions. That is guaranteed to fail. But if President Trump follows his instincts and talks to Kim Jong-un and actually goes through a step-by-step process, there is a deal to be had and there's peace to be made.
Well, the president is saying that he sees a lot of economic potential in North Korea. I want to play this for you.
North Korea has tremendous economic potential, like perhaps few other developing nations anywhere in the world. And I think that he is looking to develop that way. He knows that with nuclear, that's never going to happen. Only bad can happen. He understands that. He is a very smart man.
I suppose it's an olive branch and stick operation going on at the White House. People like John Bolton are saying that they have violated the UN sanctions. The president is trying to, I guess, charm Chairman Kim and suggest that his country could see an economic turnaround if it abandons its nuclear program.
Well, see, here's what people need to understand. You know, why President Trump is not alarmed by those small missile launches is because our security is not threatened at all by these things. These are unequivocally a message from North Korea that they want to talk. They have said openly that they want to negotiate. They want to work towards peace. They want to develop inter-Korean peace activities so that the region is safe. But they need to have it not be an all-or-nothing situation where they give everything, all of it, and then only then later can it. If it's a step-by-step process, then President Trump is absolutely right. That is possible, and it is attainable.
Julie spoke to Daniel Hoffman in the first hour of our program this morning, and he seems to agree with you that Chairman Kim is looking for a bit of attention right now. Listen.
I think there's no question that Kim Jong-un, again, was delivering a message that he can ratchet up his tests of ICBMs, and he knows that if he were to test a long-range weapon or a nuclear weapon, then that would have grave consequences for negotiations with the United States. But I think the president actually, in my view, was correct that Kim Jong-un is trying to gain a little attention for himself.
So the short-range test is kind of an attention getter.
Absolutely it is, because it's not anything that's going to break any red lines, to, break his own commitments that he's not going to make any nuclear tests, that he's not going to conduct any ICBM launches. So he's saying, hey, look, fellas, I'm still here, but we need to talk. And they have very clearly said with just in the last 2 weeks that they want to talk, but it has to be on a basis to where there's an equal side and an equal discussion about give and take. And if you're going to have negotiations, there has to be give and take. It can't be where we just come to the table and demand they do everything and then we do nothing, because that won't work. And if we want to fail, then we need to follow that path. But if we want to succeed, we can follow the path of step-by-step process leading towards peace.
Of course, North Korea was one of the three countries in President George W. Bush's axis of evil. Now we're talking about Iran, one of the other countries in that axis. Listen to what President Trump had to say about the Iranian regime.
It has a chance to be a great country with the same leadership. We're not looking for regime change. I just want to make that clear. We're looking for no nuclear weapons.
So at a time when the Iranians are thought to be working on boosting their nuclear arsenal, at least their nuclear material, the president is saying we're not looking for regime change. Is that intended to pacify the mullahs there?
Well, I'll tell you, I am really happy to hear that, because that is absolutely the best course of action for the United States. Pursuing regime change by any means is going to end up disastrous for us and for the region. But there is also a deal to be made here. And look, it's not like the Iranians are just pursuing nuclear weapons. They're actually throwing these things out there, these claims that they're going to start reprocessing in about 60 days, because they want to go to the constraints put on by the JCPOA that we got out of. There is a deal to be had there, too. And if we talk to them, they're willing to make a deal, as long as it's not, again, asking them to completely disarm. They want to have peace, and they want to develop, as President Trump says. So I really hope he continues to follow down that path, and also doesn't listen to Bolton, who wants conflict with Iran, because that's going to be a loser for everybody.
Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis now with defense priorities. Thank you.
Always my pleasure. Thanks.